Morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm awake,
Okay,
which is a good thing,
that is a good thing.
especially on Monday mornings, right?
Yeah,
Got to go turn my music off. Hey,
that's okay. Yeah, we made it through the weekend and everything.
right.
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, Armando?
Right, but okay, now I see you. I saw you face on one corner and the other something different. So I see
Okay.
Robert and Richard. Okay.
Yeah, there's like, four of us so far.
Spring is here, but the cold weather is still here.
The cold weather's here? How, what you're
This
thinking that,
morning was 40, so I need to be in the 50 in the morning. So
okay. Well, yeah, I went out and walked around outside in a pair of shorts and just a t-shirt this morning. It didn't
well,
really feel terribly cold to me.
because you're American native, I'm not.
You think? Hmm.
And you're
Well,
young and I'm old.
well, that's not really true. Okay, we're not that far apart, you know.
Mm-hmm.
No. Now, maybe when we were both 10 years old, we could say that we were far apart, but but at this stage of life, not that much difference. So,
If you haven't reached 70, you're still young.
well,
Hey,
I
if
have
you haven't
not.
reached 80, you haven't lived.
Yeah, I've not reached either of those, but I aspire to meet
Yes.
both of those goals, and even beyond. Actually, I'll tell you a story, and Claudia knows this individual. One of my very best friends in Atlanta. Her name was Madge Warner. And Madge lived to be 99.
Ooh.
And, Madge basically painted all the way up until about the time that she was about 97 or 98. And, would come to class every week. You could pretty much so set your watch by her. When I was there to open the door, Madge was there. And if Madge wasn't there, I started getting worried because Madge had taken classes with me for well over 20 years.
Damn.
And
Is that the Madge Warner that used to live in North Cobb County?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know her. Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she passed away last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 99.
I'm gonna ask you something.
Okay.
I never try. I'm gonna start painting, but I'm gonna practice non canvas because it costs money on paper, and I don't gonna use oil. I'm gonna use acrylic. I got a few what they call it metallics, so I'm gonna buy the colors.
Mm-hmm.
But I never have paint. I usually used to paint things, but not to make it paint. So I want you to give me some advice using acrylic.
Okay. What specifically are you wanting to know?
Well, I mentioned to you the acrylic dry fast.
Yes, it does.
And so if I want to change something or I don't know, I never had used acrylic before.
Mm-hmm.
I never had used anything in water basic. So
I see. Okay. Well, we could have that discussion. Acrylic has a lot of advantages in the sense that it does dry fast. Most of the colors tend to be fairly opaque. you know, if you want to create a smooth, you know, even surface in your painting, acrylic is wonderful, okay? Because acrylic, by the nature of what it is and how it's made, even if you put the paint on rather heavy and thick, will flatten out. Unless, this is the exception, unless you buy the acrylic that they call heavy body acrylic, right? If you want a more painterly texture to your work, then you can use heavy body acrylics, and it's got a medium in there that will help the paint strokes hold the shape and remain as it dries. Now it will remain to a degree, but it's still acrylic and it's still going to flatten out a bit, but you'll get more texture than you will just with your regular acrylic. Now, you can get acrylic from a lot of different places, okay? You can go out to, like, you know, some of the big art stores, or you can order it online, and you know, you can get like really high-end, you know, artist quality acrylic, which basically would be golden acrylic. They probably make the best acrylic out there with the widest color range and the most diverse types of paint, right? Now, they also tend to be probably the most expensive acrylic out there. And what I kind of recommend to people, if you want that kind of heavier body and you want a good color saturation in your paintings, then I would probably buy Utrex acrylics. They're much less expensive. You can get them in these large jars for maybe like $6 to $8 a jar. They don't have as broad a color range, but they have all the basic colors that you need, which are really just the primaries and the secondaries. And you should be able to paint almost anything you want to with those. Uh-oh, he left.
Oh, I'm here, I'm listening.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna just practice, I'm gonna buy this. About this one, they call it metallic.
Mm-hmm.
Just to practice.
Can you hold it up? I can't see it. Hold it up in front of the screen. Ah, okay, and then turn the label toward me. No, turn it slightly. Oh, okay, yeah, those, okay, yeah, it's the other way. But, yeah, those are like craft quality paint, okay?
Uh-huh.
So what I can tell you about those is they'll probably be fine. They're not gonna have a lot of texture. Yeah, they're gonna lay very flat, okay?
Mhm.
Unless you add like a heavy gel medium to it or something, okay? Anyway, we got a question up there, which is, did I finish my Madge story? Well, basically, yeah, all I wanted to say about Madge is that, yeah, if I could do as well as she did and paint till I'm, you know, 97, 98, and be as independent as she was through life till that point, I would be very happy, you know?
This is Bob. This
Yeah.
is something that Madge made for my wife and myself.
Oh, okay.
It's pottery.
Mhm.
I mean, it's beautiful. She does beautiful work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she
wonderful.
painted, you know, great landscapes and beautiful flowers, and yeah, she was really multi-talented. So,
Charles,
yes.
Charles, I just like to say, remember Dora?
Uh-huh. I do.
Yeah,
Dora,
well,
Marie?
Dora, she's still living. She's like 103,
Uh-huh.
going on 104.
Okay.
She lives in independent living, and I think she just stopped painting probably maybe 3 years ago. So
Okay.
she painted, you know, she did all the abstracts and everything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
She used to live here in
Dory,
Foxcroft.
talking about Dory Kimler.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
used to live
yes.
here in Foxcroft.
Yeah,
She was my neighbor. I remember her.
right. Yeah,
You remember Dora? Dory, okay.
Dory. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Dory Kimler. Yeah, she had a lot of, she was very energetic, and she was always a lot of fun, you know, to work
She
with.
used, she
Yeah,
used
her,
to
her daughter and I, her daughter and I are best friends.
Oh, okay.
We still meet on during the pandemic once a month, her and her husband and my husband, and we sit outside and she tells me how her mother is doing, and so that's
Okay.
wonderful.
Now, is Dory still living in her condo over there?
No, she's no, she had they had a water problem at their
Right.
flooding.
Mhm.
Somebody's so she moved out, and then she decided she didn't want to live there anymore. So she's in independent living in Dallas, where there's seniors at.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But she still lives by herself though in Dallas, not Dallas, Texas, but Dallas.
That was Georgia, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
She used to tell me that she was not old. She was older.
That's
Mhm.
right. Yes.
Right.
She was very feisty. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
She is very
you know,
feisty.
since we're, you know, a group of quote unquote seniors, you know, all sitting around here on Zoom talking about this, you know, I think that's one of the recipes for a long life. You know, a lot of it is your own perception, you know, and if you have a positive attitude and it's like, okay, you know, you're getting older, but, you know, you don't feel like you're limited, and you can still get out and do things, and you know, mentally and physically, you know, you may not do it as fast, but, you know, you go ahead and do it. You know, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And there's a lot of people out there living very independently, you know, in advanced quote unquote age. And what is it? I think I heard a statistic, you know, this was probably over an ad or something like that, but they were saying something like there's about 34,000 people on the planet right now who are over 100 years old.
Okay.
That's a few people. Yeah.
That's a goal.
Yeah, that's quite a few people. Now, of course, you know, when you got 7 trillion people, it's not that big of a, you know, not that big of a number, but it's still quite a few people. And so, you know, I think if you got your mind to it, and you know, you kind of stay healthy, you can be around for a very long time. So, anyway, I'm trying. That's what I'm working on. So anyway,
laughter is very important too.
what is that, Eloise?
I think laughter is very important. Having
Oh,
a
absolutely.
humorous attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to be able to laugh at life and not take it so seriously. You know, if you let everything bother you, it's gonna wear you down after a while. You know, so you take the good with the bad, and you know, always try to look at the upside of things, and you know, be happy to be here every day. That's about all I can do. So,
Yeah.
no matter what's going on with anybody else. So,
Yes.
anyhow, I do not have a video for you guys today. Guess what? You know,
What?
no video. Okay.
Wow.
Instead, since we're talking about, you know, hanging around for a long time and stuff, what I wanted to do is I took a little time over the weekend, and, you know, I've been gathering these images up for, you know, about the last 5 or 6 days. Because at one point in the conversation, I think I mentioned to you that we have probably more people alive on the planet today than has ever existed previously. You know, if you start back at the 21st century and go backward, we've actually got more living humans running around than there have ever been through all time.
Yep.
So, yeah, so that being the case, you got a large pool of talent out there, you know. And there really are, you know, a couple of Leonardo da Vinci's, a couple of Picasso's. You know, we don't know who they are yet, but they're out there. You know, just if you do the math, you know, and you just look at the number of people today, you've got to have, you know, some exceptionally talented people out there. And anyway, I want to share with you just a few of the people that I came across and look at some of their artwork. And, you know, we can obviously talk about it. What you like, what you don't like, you know, what your thoughts are.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Charles, some of those people are probably in our class.
No, I avoided those.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, in the bigger sense of yes, or some of those great talented people out there fall into that. Yes, but yeah,
Look how Picasso started. Look how Picasso started off. He changed his styles.
Oh yeah, constantly.
And some of the others too. Some of the
Yeah.
others. So
Yeah, it's all
There's
an
hope.
evolution.
But we
Pardon?
watched
hope.
those videos you sent us to us.
Yeah. So anyway, let's start looking at some of this stuff, and I'm just going to kind of run you through it, and I've labeled these so that we know who did it, and you know, a little bit about, you know, who they are. And let's see. Okay. So can everybody see this painting of, it's kind of a
yeah.
semi-nude figure?
I can see it.
You can see it, okay. All right. And of course, I've got to drop this down because one window sits right over the other. Okay, so this is Roland, okay, Cabero, and he's from Costa Rica. And, you know, not a bad painting, you know. I think, yeah, I think if I, you know, I think if I came out with that at the end of the day, you know, after working, I would be happy with that.
Yes.
You know, I think that's you know, rather well painted. You know, the composition, it's interesting. You know, the way he sort of treated everything. He's kind of got a painting. It's kind of like this play on, is it a painting? Is it reality? Because notice the easel behind her, and she's kind of the, you know, part of her is the painting and part of her is coming out of the painting.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you know, it's this play on an optical illusion of, you know, you ask yourself, okay, is she painted? Is she real? You know, but I thought it was rather well done. Yeah. Here's another, now this gentleman is from Mexico, okay, Alfredo Rodriguez. And, you know, really when you start looking at this painting, it's really incredibly well done. Now, a lot of you could look at this and learn a lot of things from it, particularly around the use of light and shadow, which I think he handled really beautifully here. Also his ability to, you know, push colors, you know, in the distance and bring areas forward, okay? And I don't think anybody will disagree in saying that, you know, the wagon wheel and the man and the dog and the foreground all move forward. And that behind the wagon wheel, you actually see this bucket that's back here. That's not really all that much further away, and yet, you know, it looks pushed back, doesn't it? Okay, it's softer. It's been, you know, pushed back there in the distance. So you get this nice sense of depth in this painting. You know, look at the use of light and shadow on the fabric. You know, the folds. And notice that none of the folds repeat. You know, they're not repetitive. They're always interesting in different shapes, right? So, yeah, I thought he handled that really well. And, you know, I don't know how many of you are dog lovers and have dogs, but that's a very old golden retriever. you know, and you could tell the age of the dog, you know, if you look at the face and how white it is, and that looks like an old dog. You know, the dog's been around with this guy for a while. So it begins to set up a narrative and tell a story that's, you know, really, you know, really strong kind of, you know, story quality to it. But it's just really nicely painted, you know, nicely posed, nicely composed. Here's another painting that he did, you know. And look at the transparency of the water, you know, and how you see her legs and the rocks underneath the water surface there, you know, and it all works, you know, really nicely.
There's a lot of Mexican art that I think we're not aware of.
Oh yeah, well, there's a lot of
Every once in a while, I see something, and it's, you know, from an artist from Mexico. That might be something to explore in one of our classes in the future.
Yeah. Well, I try to show artists from all around the world, you know, on a fairly regular basis, and that's what I'm saying. You know, is you'd be amazed. You know, in a lot of places that you don't think that there's really a lot of art or culture, quote unquote. You know, you have these people who are doing, you know, really incredible, amazing work. You know, this guy is just one of them. You know, here's a, now this looks like an old painting, but the fact is, you know, it was painted like, you know, 2011, 2009, something like that. And this is this guy's wife. He's Russian. You know, and so it's his wife who posed, and you know, it's kind of set, I would say, probably in like parts of France or the Netherlands. You know, the hollyhocks growing behind her are really, really beautifully painted. The fabric, the transparency, you know, of the dress, the light, you know, coming in from behind her, you know, the different surfaces, the fabric, the skin, the flowers, the old building back here, you know, this with the mansard roof on it, and the windmill. You know, everything is really handled, you know, really, really nicely. You know, this is, you know, one of those paintings, again, you know, you could look at, you know, for hours and, you know, just look at technique and how he pulled off the illusions that he did. And they're very, very strong, very nice stuff. Here's an interesting young man, okay? And I do mean young. I mean, this guy is 20 something. And, you know, he's coming up with these fairly large figurative landscapes, I guess is how you might refer to them. You know, but again, you know, really competently painted. You know, a nice handling of all the different elements in there. And I think this is an acrylic. I think he paints mainly in acrylic, not in oil. And so, you know, he does a pretty good job at softening, you know, colors and transitions, you know, and pulling that off really well. Here's another one of his works. And so again, you know, it's like the landscape becomes part of the figure. The figure kind of melds into the landscape at the same time. You know, really nicely handled. This is another one of his, you know, without a quote unquote human figure in it. But just, you know, a nice handling of color, value. You know, he's tight in some places, you know, he's loose in others, intentionally to really kind of draw your eye, you know, to a focal point. Yeah. Thought this was a really lovely plein air painting, you know, appropriate for this time of year. and it was just recently painted. It just posted on Facebook about a week ago. And, that's exactly what's going on here. If you look outside, you got the daffodils coming up and flowering at least a week ago. Most of my daffodils are now gone. I don't know about anybody else's.
Yeah,
But-
they
Yeah,
are.
mine's in bloom. Yeah, mine are
Are
up
they in
too.
bloom? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have any left. They were in bloom about a week ago. And I mean, like, in the last 3 weeks, they've been out there and just all over the place. And now, went out this morning, looked around, I don't have one, out right now. Now I've got tulips and other things coming up right now, but the daffodils are pretty much so. I mean, the stalks are there, but there's no flowers anymore. But again, as a plein air painting, if you look at, the technique and the use of color and value, it's a lot of greens, right? But, she kind of sneaks in these little hints of other colors, blues and violets and reds and oranges and things. And it really makes, the painting, really kind of rich and really nice to look at. And it feels like a spring morning. Beautiful watercolor, of an angelfish. Just, really nice, loose technique. Very suggestive of movement, and, you kind of get the idea that something is there and then it's kind of not. This is a personal friend of mine. He lives here in Atlanta. And this is Charles Young Walls. And he, this painting just won an award. I think it was in Oil Painters of America. I think it took maybe first place or something. But, beautifully painted. Nice composition, great light, shadow. Just really nicely done. Loose in, a lot of the painting, and very just suggested that, something's there. And then other areas of the painting are, fairly, accurate and tight. And one thing I want you to look at is, look at the use of color in the skin tone. See? None of that is like one continuous color, right? There's all kinds of things there. There's kind of these blue greens and violets, reds, oranges, yellows, greens. Just about any color you can imagine is in those flesh tones. And they each serve a purpose, to kind of create this illusion of form. Because not only do you have the change in value, you've got the change in color temperature as well. And again, that kind of reinforces that idea that, what you're looking at is not a flat surface, it's actually a three-dimensional form. And so, your value and your temperature are both, as you advance as a painter, one of those things you want to start looking at more consistently in your paintings and think about, as you're laying that color in there. And
Charles,
yeah.
is there a rule as to what colors you add to flesh tones, different races or whatever? Because if I know they enhance the picture, and I wish I could do that to my pictures, and make them still look realistic. Because now, if you normally see her walking down the street clothed, you wouldn't see her with a greenish colored chin or her thigh with bluish green on her or anything like that. So there's some complementary colors that you normally add to skin tones that you don't normally see. I don't normally see them.
Well, okay. And my answer to you is this: light is everything. Depending on the light condition that the figure is in, regardless of your ethnicity or skin tone, you know, that can radically change the colors that you see, you know. So flesh tones can really be anything, because your skin, you know, is actually reflective of everything around you.
So I should pick up colors that are in the surroundings then to add to the skin tones?
Yeah, well, not arbitrarily, but you mainly work from photos, right?
Yes,
Okay. And see, here's
that's
going to
my,
be one of the limitations that you have, because a camera is only like 1/10 of as sensitive to color as your eye.
mhm,
And that's
mm,
where, you know, painting and drawing from life will inform you in you know, in the way that you need to, so that you can really begin to look at and see that, you know, these colors are not made up, they're actually there. Now, as an artist, you know, you may take and push and enhance them, but the fact is, you know, if you have a live model up there, you can actually begin to see these colors actually in the skin. So, under certain lighting conditions,
okay.
there are also lighting conditions that can almost eliminate all color in the skin, and particularly like
Mhm.
really, really bright flat light will just about take out everything. So, again, you know, the light is everything. That's
I see.
yeah.
Charles,
Yes.
he painted a picture of my mother, which I have. And
Charles
good
Wallace.
job.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. He's Charles. Well, he and I are about the same age. Yeah.
He took a series of photographs and put it together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, did he actually meet your mother, or did you just have the photographs at the time?
She's dead.
Right. Okay. So he did it just from the photos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
did a
Okay.
good job.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a very good painter. You know, very good painter. So, yeah. But wanted to share that one with you. Moving on. We have this young lady right here, which, you know, I'd never seen her work before, but she has very imaginative work. And again, you know, handled really, really nicely. I believe, I want to say she's in Spain. But, you know, if you look at her work, not that compositionally it really reminds me of like Klimt, but look at the use of that metallic silver, you know, behind the figure, which also, you know, acts kind of as an element, you know, like the moon. And then she's painted, you know, opaque colors, you know, over that, you know, for the flesh tones, you know, to get the figure to move forward with all the flowers, you know, really nicely done. This is another one of hers. And this was for a demonstration she was going to do on, you know, capturing expression. You know, I thought that was a really fun painting. But again, you know, when you look at, you know, the technical aspects of the painting itself, and again, you know, look at the use of color in the flesh tones. And, you know, this is a person with a darker flesh tone. And yet, you know, you see that the clothing that she's wearing is being, you know, reflected, you know, in certain portions, you know, of her face. And so you've got, you know, generally what you would call a cooler temperature side and a warmer temperature side. You know, this one being more kind of reddish pink. You know, over here you've got the turquoise. And again, it helps kind of enhance that illusion of the form being three-dimensional. Okay, it's not just the value, but it's also the color temperature. You know, a bit spooky, you know, same young lady. And she is young. I mean, she's probably in her 30s, you know. And this painting was, I want to say it was like won an award in like Artist Magazine or something like that, you know. So, you know, a lot of these people are very accomplished, you know, at a very early age. And, you know, they're doing some good work. I thought this was a really fun piece that she did. So it's Sister Linda prayed long and loud. And so it's the same character, different, you know, different poses, different stages. And this is the piece that I first saw of hers, which, you know, I really took some time to look at. And again, you know, really beautifully painted. You know, she really focuses in, let's see, where's my cursor? You know, it's really this area, you know, from her ear, you know, you can make like an oval. And that is the focal point right here. That's the whole story. Everything else, you know, is supportive of that. And it's painted more loosely. You know, it's not as tight, not as detailed. But, you know, the hands and the fingers, you know, the front plane and the features on the face, you know, the crow, you know, all of those things are handled really, really nicely. Oh, and added to that, this is all acrylic. And it's painted on an aluminum panel. And the thing is, she works incredibly small. I mean, this is an 18 by 24. And most of her work is kind of around about 18 by 24. So these are not big paintings by any means. These are, you know, kind of small. And, you know, to get, you know, the softness, you know, and the subtlety of the transition of the color and stuff, you know, at that scale, you know, young woman knows what she's doing. So, you know, this is a beautifully done portrait. And, you know, this is a young man who is in China. And just, you know, really nicely painted. Now, Eloise, you were asking me about, you know, enhancing skin tones, you know, and pushing colors and things into it. And
Yes.
This is one of these situations where, you know, the light on him was relatively flat and even, okay? You know, it's kind of more kind of, you know, straight on and above. And so most of the colors in like the skin tones of his face and even his hands and the top of the coat, notice that all the light as you move down, you know, a surface begins to fall off and get just a little bit darker. You know, it happens on his face, it happens in his neck, it happens in the coat. You know, it's very consistent. Same thing with the hands. You know, the top planes are in light. You know, as it rolls underneath, it falls into shadow. So it's all very consistent and, you know, pretty well thought out. You know, even the actual lighting, you know, on the landscape, you know, tends to coincide with, you know, the figure. And that's a huge mistake that a lot of people make. You know, they'll put a figure in a painting and then they'll paint a landscape behind it, but it's like the landscape was painted at a different time or a different like atmospheric condition than the actual subject, you know, would kind of indicate to you. So, you know, the two don't fit together, you know, harmoniously. And that's,
So
yeah.
if there was a landscape behind him, or if the artist had put a landscape, it should relate to the figure?
Yes.
What,
Yeah,
you mean in color?
Well, not just color, but in the source of light. They both have to feel like they're in the same light source.
Right, I see.
Yeah, because if the shadows on those mountains, let's say that instead of having the light over here on the right-hand side of that column of rocks, let's say it was on the other side. Well, that would be totally inconsistent with what's going on with the figure, because if you look at the figure, notice that the collar on his coat and then the side of his neck over to the right is appears to be more in light, right?
Right.
Okay. And so it only makes sense that in the landscape that the same thing would sort of happen. On a
I see.
building, on rocks, on trees, whatever it is, you know, they're in the same environment. And so they have to work together. And I can't tell you how many paintings I've seen that, and probably done a few myself actually, where, you know, I didn't get that right, you know. And so you really have to kind of think these out, you know, very, very carefully. And particularly when you're making what I call a Frankenstein, which is, you know, you're taking several different sources and putting it together, you know. So
Okay.
it just, you know, it takes a little bit of work
Thank
and
you.
a lot of thought. Now this is an old painting, actually. It had to be painted, you know, sometime before, you know, 1683. And I think this guy was a Spanish painter. And the fun thing I find about this painting is, again, it's an optical illusion, right? You know, you have an old classical painting on the wall, and then you have some of the artist's tools right here. You know, the candle, you know, the brushes and the palette, you know, the little bottle for like linseed oil or whatever kind of medium he's using. But then you have this lemon, and it's been peeled, and see how it's curling and coming outside the canvas? So again, you know, it's that optical illusion. You know, is it something that's real? Is it a painting? You know, what is it? You know, and it's really nicely done. So you know, it's a beautiful little painting. You know, he even has a lot of the crackle in the varnish, you know, on the surface of the painting, and how it's kind of shrinking and the paint is cracking because the canvas has come loose on the corner. You know, but if you look at it carefully, it's like everything is painted like really meticulously well. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to.
I like the way it looks as if the painting is being taken away from the frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 It's come off the frame here.
That's
Yes.
a technique. I can't remember the name of it. What is it
Trump
called?
oil.
Trump oil. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. This was very popular. Well, it's kind of come into fashion several times in history, actually. There was a big period in the 1800s in America where a lot of American artists were painting Trump oil paintings, you know, very similar to this, all the way up until about 1900. And but this is a European version, and again, I think he's a Spanish painter. Well, I haven't done a lot of research on him, so I'd have to really go back and really check. But
What's his name?
Cornelius Gebrechts, I think. I'll have to go look him up. Yeah.
Cornelio what?
Cornelius
Uh-huh.
Gebrechts. It's right up at the top. It's Gijsbrecchts. And he lived from 1630 to 1683. So, you know, he was only 53 years old when he died. And back in the 1600s.
It's interesting the way they had the smoke coming out of the candle.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's kind of one of the interesting things is the smoke is coming out of the candle and it's actually going behind the painting, right? And it's coming back out you know, from underneath the canvas here. So, yeah, I was kind of noticing that. Yeah, but I mean, he's taken a great deal of pain, you know, to get in the details. You can look at the wood, and you can tell that's cedar. You know, that's the type of wood it is. It's cedar. You know, and it looks like cedar. It's got that pattern and grain and color. You know, and it feels accurate. So, you know, even the palette, you know, feels like it's got crusty old paint, you know, built up on it, and it's done, you know, really nicely. So nice illusion. Speaking of illusions, you know, here's someone from Colombia, and he's quite alive and quite a bit younger. And again, you know, really nicely painted. You know, in a way, it's kind of a simple painting, but then you really start looking at it, and it's like all those surfaces, the reflections, the light, you know, the shadow that's being cast, and, you know, how he varies, you know, the color and the value in the shadow. You know, all of those things are really, really nicely done. You know, even the label, you know, going down the side of the jar, and no, I can't read the text on it, but, you know, but I believe that there's text there, and that's really all you got to do. Okay. This is someone who's another personal friend of mine, and she's very creative, very artistic. You know, she does a lot of painting, but she also does a lot of digital art. And this is a kind of a combination Photoshop, digital art, and painting piece for her. You know, very nicely done. And she, you know, all of her work kind of deals with kind of the spiritual aspects of life. You know, and you know, just really nicely done. This is again another fairly young artist, and again, you know, look at the transition of color in the flesh tones. You know, it's not just all one color. See, it varies in value, but it also varies in color and temperature. And this is, you know, fairly loosely painted, but it's, you know, it's really competently and really well done. This is a young man out of Cuba. You know, kind of a nice slice of life, and you feel, you know, you feel like that's kind of accurate to the place, you know, that he, you know, that he lives, you know, with the people, and, you know, doing, you know, everyday activities. If you remember Seurat's painting of all the people out picnicking kind of along the river, right? You know, very similar, you know, in the feel of it. You know, different time period, but obviously. This guy, he's a model here in Atlanta. I downloaded that photo. Didn't really mean to get it in there. This is Gordon Shriver. Gordon is Gordon is a actor mainly, and a good model, you know, but this is not a painting of him. This is a photo of him. And it would be a good photo to work from, you know, if you wanted to paint a portrait of somebody. Heidi, I'm going to butcher her name. Pressy. Anyway, she's from Germany. You know, beautifully painted. Again, you know, really, really nicely handled, you know, light and shadow. You know, really nice color through all the skin tones, the fabrics. The flowers themselves are really beautifully painted. You know, the vase, you know, and just the reflective quality of the surfaces of the vase are really nicely done as well.
The lace.
Mm-hmm.
That would take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of patience.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, A lot of these paintings, you know, they are not one day, you know, paintings. I'm just going to sit down and do a painting today. You know, a lot of these are, you know, a serious commitment to time, and you know, have been done, you know, meticulously and over, I would say, you know, a fairly long period of time. You know, here's another one of her pieces, and again, you know, look at the fabric. You know, just all the different surfaces in there. You know, just beautifully handled. Now, the transition of color in the skin tones, see, you know, she handles that in a much more subtle way, but it's still there. You know, from this kind of cool area to a warm area, you know, to something that's in light and cold, okay, because the light is almost like a blue or a white light, so probably middle of the day. You know, against the shadows, which, you know, tend to kind of vacillate between warmer and cooler temperatures. But, you know, when you get these cool notes in the shadows like that, and you compare them to the lights, the light being cold, it's still warmer than cold. So you got warm and cool in the shadows in this case. It's kind of an unusual situation that you'd find both. You know, lights are generally going to be one thing, either warm or cool, and shadows are going to be the opposite, whatever that is. So in this case, with the light being cold, you know, then it's fair game. Everything can be in the shadow, both warm and cool, and she uses that rather nicely. So, you know, beautiful attention to detail, you know, in the fabric. And even the planes of the fingers are really, you know, very nicely painted. Just enough change, you know, to turn the direction, you know, of the fingers. This, you know, it's not really a classical painting. You know, it's painted in the later 1900s. So, well, you know, yeah, 1867 to 1934. So, yeah, I guess early 1900s. But again, you know, look at, if you will, the use of the color in the skin tones. And it's kind of subtle, but again, you know, from going from warmer into this sort of almost greenish color, right? Back up to something that's kind of pink and warm again. And then the same thing sort of happens in this figure, okay? Just different color ranges and not quite as green, you know, in the center section of the torso. But the legs, you know, get warmer as you get more blood flow to the surface of the skin. And then the transparency of the fabric and all the detail in the stone railing and the landscape behind it all kind of falls into a general dark value so that the figures, which are lighter, stand forward, right?
He was American painter.
Pardon?
He was American.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this is a Japanese painter. And this is, you know, ink on linen. And, you know, I have to say it's probably, it could be colored inks. But, you know, this guy was born in 1965. So he's not very old, really. You know, he's in his 50s now. So, but, you know, classically, it's kind of like classical Japanese and Chinese feeling approach, you know, to the process of creating images. And yet at the same time, you know, it's very contemporary, very modern. You know, so it kind of walks that line between traditional and contemporary really nicely. This is a classical painting, you know, just a little bit older. Can't remember exactly who painted this, but it was painted back in the 1800s. This is one of those paintings that fall into that category called Orientalism. And it was a French painter, is all I can really remember about this piece. But again, you know, look at the use of, you know, the different surfaces and textures in here. You know, just really nicely painted. Nice use of light, shadow, you know, the color, the form, you know, really beautifully, you know, handled. Again, this is a contemporary painting. You know, really captured the illusion, you know, of, you know, people out there with a lantern on the beach, you know, late at night. So, and notice that, you know, see, he didn't bother to get caught up in the details of who this guy was. You know, it's just this, you know, you get the idea of this guy standing out there. You know, and all the features don't really matter. It's kind of the, you know, the story behind it. This is a beautiful painting. Again, this is a Russian artist who did this. And just really beautiful transition, you know, of temperature and value. And, you know, look how soft, you know, the edges of the mouth, you know, everything in here until really right around this eye. And that's what, you know, he wants to draw you to, is to really kind of just focus right on that eye and the expression. And so the edges become sharper, again, more value contrast, you know, highest degree of contrast really right here in the whole painting. So, you know, though it initially seems to be a fairly simple painting, you know, there's more to it, you know, when you really start looking at it. This is a watercolor. And if you can do watercolor like that,
You're good.
you're good. You're very good. You know, just really lovely kind of sense of light and shadow. And, you know, real subtle transition of color and temperature. Notice how the shadow is cooler and slightly darker behind her head. And as it transitions away, it becomes warmer, you know, more into the reds. And this is more into the greens and the blues. You know, same thing with the transition of the light across, you know, the skin tones here. You know, that strong core shadow, and then you begin to pick up the reflected light on the other side. You know, really nicely done. The fabric, you know, the floors, you know, the kind of the sense of like the sheen, you know, on the wood itself. You know, everything's handled, you know, really, really nicely with this. This is a oil painting. And again, nice sense of light, shadow. This is a contemporary painting again, so. But it's painted, you know, it's painted in a kind of a, you know, a classical kind of traditional way. Yeah, this is a really nice contemporary painting. And it looks, you know, it looks like something that would have been classically painted, but it's not. I mean, it's been painted in the 2000s. You know, just really lovely handling of light and shadow. Another example. So there's a lot of beautiful stuff out there. You know, you'd look at this and you kind of think, you know, this is like a photo, and it's not. It's painting, but it's so you know, well handled, you know, even to the fact of, see, everything here in the face is very clear, very sharp. And the flowers and even the fingers and the hands as they move forward get softer and out of focus. And then back behind her gets out of focus. And so it's really kind of just this area right in here that is, you know, tight and detailed, and all the rest of the painting, whoop, sorry, it went away. All the rest of the painting is much softer. So again, you know, he's very meticulous about how he controlled those hard and soft edges, as well as the color and value. This is a really nice painting as well. You have to feel good at the end of the day when something like that is sitting on the easel. So, you know, it tells a story. It, you know, beautiful light, shadow. You know, you get a sense of the place. You can almost hear the water moving. Again, you know, beautiful, you know, much looser painting, but a great sense of, you know, the direction of the light, and then how the light is coming through this parasol, you know, and reacting on the skin and dress surfaces here. Really nicely done. How many of you ever wanted to paint a window and then put a cat in it? You know, and you can look at, you know, each of these plants and you can tell exactly what they are. You know, like I know that's a begonia. I've seen that before. I can't name it. And then I've seen these.
But I
I
don't
would say
understand.
coral bells or something like that. Huh?
I don't understand why the blind outside.
Why the cat is outside? That's a good question.
The blind.
Oh, the plants. Well, maybe they
No,
put
no,
them
no,
out there.
The line, the shades.
The shades. The shades. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Why would the shades be outside? Huh. I don't know.
It makes it pretty. It adds color.
Yeah, it does.
Otherwise,
You know?
drab house probably.
Yeah.
You should make it look like an old.
Like the little shutters.
Mhm.
You know, it's like shutters.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks like this is, you know, you could see something like this if you were like in a city like Lyon, in the old Roman section of the city. This looks like a really old building, you know, and that window has been there for a really long time, you know, and it shows its age, you know, and wear. But, you know, beautifully painted.
Yeah, you took all those things off of the windowsill and everything, and that shutter, it would just be a drab window.
Yeah, there would be,
Having
yeah, there'd be nothing
personality
to
and
it.
character.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it all those elements, you know, tell a story. Even the surface of the pots, you know, they didn't just paint them kind of a terracotta color, you know, they went in there and they really made it look like it had some use to it, you know, and some age to it. Really handled very nicely. You know,
What do you think about the foreshortening on that cat?
Oh, the foreshortening? Actually, I thought it was done really well.
Yeah.
See how the head comes forward and the body goes back?
Yeah.
So yeah, everything, yeah, I can't really find anything that doesn't work in here, you know. Thought it was really well done. This is another one of those paintings, you know, that again, you know, you look at the skin tones and the transitions of color and things in the skin, and it feels right, you know, it feels perfectly natural. And you really start looking at it and see how much color is actually there, and it's quite a bit. And then on top of that, you've got all the detail, you know, back here in the panel, you know, behind her. And it's there, but he hasn't overworked it to the point where it competes, with the figure, and the figure moves forward. A beautiful job at capturing the expression on this boy's face. Yeah, it's just really lovely. Simple painting, right? But not, beautiful flowers, these leaves. Notice that all the leaves are not the same shape. They've changed the angles, and the lighting on them appropriately. You see that the flower, where is it? Yeah, right here. This is out in front, and the light is coming in from the left, and so it's casting a shadow on that leaf, that's moving forward. Just little subtle things like that really add to the illusion of this, physically being there in front of you. This is Joseph McGurl, and this guy does a lot of landscape paintings, and just beautiful work in general. But yeah, this is he's taken this harbor scene, and he's got it right there, at the time when it's just before sunrise. And he's captured kind of the temperature and the mood, of the water. It's got, just a little bit choppy outside of the bay area. The boats are going out. The lights are still on, at the marina and stuff in the background. Really nicely done. It's a small image, but this lady is, American. Beautiful still life. And just look at the contrast, how she handled that really smooth, reflective surface of that metal pot. And then the surfaces of these pumpkins or squash and the leaves and things, and how you don't get the same reflective quality on them. So it's really just handled, just right. And it's very subtle, but it's everything is, just the way it should be.
Okay, Charles,
Yes.
do you think that different people have different perception of what they see? I mean, I can never fathom myself doing anything that realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because of the vision, how you see something, how you translate it to the canvas?
I think a lot of it, yeah. You could say it is in the way you see things. And the fact is, you and I can look at the very same thing and we'll see two very different things. Even though we're looking at, it's the same model or the same still life or even the same landscape. And the way that we perceive color and depth and shape and form are very different from each other. And again, it all goes back to, the fact that
Kyle Sabala.
whether we like it or not, the thing that we can't get rid of, the thing we can't take a vacation from is us, us being sort of our experience, everything we've kind of encountered in life up until this point. And that all has to do with, how we perceive things around us. So, and then after that, it's a choice, a choice of artistic style. Not everything has to be photographically rendered. I mean, some of these pieces are, but as you see, some of these pieces won't be. Okay. Where is she? Rebecca. Is Rebecca Pickney here? No. Okay. I don't see her. All right. you know, I pulled this piece specifically for her because she tried to do an eye last week. And again, you know, she was just sort of outlining the shape of the eye in white chalk. And, you know, this is a very different approach, you see. You know, what they're doing is they're looking at where the light and the shadow are. And they're putting the lights where they see the light, and where the shadows are, they're letting them go back to just be the paper. And that's kind of what I was trying to recommend for her to do. So I'd like her to see this at some point. So I may be showing that again later this week. Here's an example,
Looks
John.
an awful lot like scratchboard.
Yeah, it does kind of. It's actually white chalk on like this black paper.
Yeah, I was reading that above. Yeah, because I first looked at it and said, that looks like scratchboard. But then
It has that same kind of effect. But then, well, here, let's go back to it for a second. But then let's see if you begin to blow it up. Yeah, you can begin to see kind of the kind of crusty surface and the texture of the paper, the weave of the
there
paper.
you go. Yeah.
You know, and
now
how
you can
it's,
see it.
yeah, how it's taken sort of the layers of chalk built up on it. It's really nicely done.
It is.
And then we have this piece.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, see? You know, is it photographically real? No. Okay. But that has nothing to do with, you know, the fact that, I mean, the color and the design of everything is gorgeous. You know, the graphic treatment, how soft the background is, you know, and how the middle ground and the foreground, you know, come forward, you know, in succession. So you get this nice sense of layering and depth in there. You know, totally different style, you know, totally different approach, you know, than a lot of the things that we've seen. But just, you know, beautifully done, you know, the use of color and the shapes and the design, you know, of the flowers and the hair, you know, just really, really beautifully done. You know, even the hair itself, you know, is simplified and kind of graphic. You know, it's not really photographically real. You know, certainly the skin tones and things are not rendered, and they're not trying to turn form here and convince you that, you know, you're seeing, you know, like a real living, breathing person in front of you. But it's just enough, you know, to give you the idea of what they were after. Okay. So again, you know, there's lots of different approaches to this. You know, this is just an absolutely stunning piece. Okay. And this is from a young man in China. And I mean young. I mean, he's like maybe in his 30s now. You know? And just beautifully painted. You know, look at the knitting in the sweater. You know, and the skin tones are really
You would
subtle.
think that was a photograph. It's so beautifully done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a meticulously done painting. And again, you know, we were talking about eyes last week, right? And just how he's captured just that little bit of light on the upper eyelid, and then that deep shadow underneath. And then if he had made the outline on the bottom of that eye darker, then it would flatten out, but it doesn't. See, it feels round, you know? You know, you see the roundness in that eye, you know, and it's not a flat surface, it curves. Everything curves there, you know, just beautifully done. And, you know, he hasn't gone, you know, like crazy with like these wild, extreme changes in color in the skin tone either. But again, it's still there. You know, it's just, again, you've got a warmer side, you've got a cooler side. See, again, it's kind of cooler across here, warmer, you know, right here, you know, in the cheekbone areas. But yeah, just really lovely painting. And the thing is, yes.
Is this oil?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's an oil painting. It didn't really say what media it is, but I'm guessing it's oil painting. It could maybe be acrylic, but I'm kind of thinking oil. But you know, when you look at this, it's again, you know, kind of a classically Asian style and feel, you know, to the artwork itself. And yet at the same time, you know, it's a contemporary piece, you know, because of the clothing. See, so, you know, he's doing that really fine line walk, you know, between traditional and contemporary. See, very different painting, okay? But you get a sense of the landscape and, you know, the water and the clouds and things. You know, and it works. You know, it's really nice. You know. Now I think this is I want to say it's an acrylic. It's not an oil, but okay, hold on to your hats. Okay. Here's again. This is an oil painting. And this guy's from Italy. So, you know, you take a basket of fruit and some flowers and things, well, basically fruit, and you let it sit there for a few weeks, you know, and this is what you get.
Looks like a photograph.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Didn't you used to paint fruit every day?
Uh-huh, yeah. Yep, yeah, I would get up in the morning, just, you know, so that somewhere in the day I would get some painting done. You know, I'd start at around 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd paint whatever I was going to eat that day. So.
And if you weren't hungry, guess what you could paint later? A bowl of this fruit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I usually painted it in the morning, and then sometime I usually didn't eat it at 4 o'clock in the morning. I you know, I painted it first, and then sometime in the afternoon or whatever I would eat it. So this is a plein air piece, and again, you know, beautiful color, you know, nice movement, a good sense of distance, and again, you know, it's not photorealistic. It's not, you know, no attempt, you know, to really make it look like a photo, but you know exactly what's going on there, right? You know, and you get the sense like you could be there. This is a really fun piece. Okay. Again, you know, more graphic, you know, and no real attempt to give you the illusion of distance and depth or anything, but just, you know, really kind of fun, interesting composition, you know, and you get the sense that it's a school of fish. Right? Here we go back to, this is mind-boggling, okay? I mean, this is literally mind-boggling.
Ooh.
Now, I would have looked at this and said, oh, it looks like a really tight oil painting. No, this is a pastel.
Wow.
I mean, it's incredible.
That is incredible.
I mean, it really is just, you know, jaw-droppingly.
Pastel.
You know, yeah.
Well, I don't care what it's out of. It is still jaw-dropping.
It is. It's beautifully painted, you know.
Wow.
But look at the even the surface of the lace, and it feels like lace, and it's not just an exterior layer of it. You feel like there's other layers underneath it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really handled just beautifully.
Well, it took hours and hours and hours.
Days, weeks, and months.
Yeah, days, weeks.
Yeah.
Forget hours. You know,
Yeah,
forget
so
the hours.
I underdescribed that badly.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's you know, it's an incredible piece of work. It really is, you know, and to really, you know, understand what the medium was that they used to accomplish that is
It had to be hard pastel, or else that white would have been so discolored you wouldn't recognize it as white.
well, if he is like any other pastel artist that I've ever met, you know, he's using a combination of like very, very soft pastels, like the Schminkies or something like that, with Rembrandts and with like Carbothellos, you know, all combined, so that you get, you know, very soft to very hard, you know, to get, you know,
I
like
just want to
crisp.
understand with all those soft pastels, how you keep that white so clean.
Well,
You know,
and see,
thin tone under it, and everything.
yeah,
It's unbelievable.
and see, that's kind of the interesting thing to me, because he had to. I mean, the only way I can figure, he either had to be working with a bridge, right? So it's like this long stick that you can rest your hand against, right, as you're working on it. And or he had to start really kind of right here with the face, and then just work outward and keep turning it, you know, as he was working on it, so that his hand wasn't resting, you know, on any of the surfaces that were already done. But
And I'm thinking this
Pastel.
fixative that's, you know, you can put a little bit of fixative on it and still work on top of it to keep some of it down.
yeah,
To me, it's an impossibility. How clean he kept that, it's just amazing.
yeah,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
yeah. I mean, it's like I said, you know, it's an incredible piece. It really is. It's beautifully done. Anybody know this guy?
Hey, yeah,
Brother.
man.
I know of him. I don't know him personally.
Right. Yes. But now this is an oil painting, and it's done by a guy down in Mexico, and you know,
Wow.
that's good enough to be any presidential portrait, you know.
Yeah, it is.
And it's
Beautiful.
you know, it's beautifully painted. Really is nice. It's a nice painting. You know, very accurate.
Stiff, like a lot of these presidential paintings, they are so stiff. I don't know how to explain it. This is more, I don't know, makes him look alive, makes him look friendly, you know, as well.
Yeah,
as
I mean,
president.
you know, I think he got a good sense of who he was. You know, you know,
Right.
capturing the expression and just the pose. You know, with the arms crossed. You know, it says, oh, where do you go? It says a lot about, you know, kind of who he was.
Right.
You know, in office. But, you know, really nicely painted. You know, really well managed. Again, you know, you everything like really right in this triangle. Everything is very sharp, very clean, very clear. And then as you begin to move off, see what happens?
Yeah, fades out,
Yeah. Well, it gets softer.
softer.
But not only does it get softer as far as the edges go, the colors also begin to become a little more muted, right? Not quite as intense, not quite as much contrast out here as there is here. And again, so it reinforces that idea of your focal point goes right to, you know, the subject. Okay.
Makes you want to smile.
Yeah. But then you go to this, right? And I mean, you know, what a lovely painting. Just great color and composition and shape and light and shadow. I mean, it all works. Is it photographically real? No. Okay. You know, it's very painterly, kind of very loose, suggestive, but it works. You know, it works so well. Okay. Sorry about that. People still want to call me. Now this is Patrick Saunders, and you know, I've talked to this guy for the last 10 years, you know, on Facebook. You know, just an incredible painter, you know, really, really just nice stuff. You know, I love his brush work and just how loose he can be and yet accurate at the same time. You know, it's like one of those things that kind of sounds like, you know, you're talking about two different people, but you know, there are painters out there who can do both. And it's just really lovely, you know, and the way he uses color is incredible. Yeah. Yeah. Just really beautiful pieces. So I'll blow that up a little bit. I could feel good with any of those, you know. If I walked away at the end of the day and, you know, had a painting like that, any one of those would work for me. You know, just a really kind of beautiful use of color and mood. Yeah. And then you go to this guy. And again, you know, it's like this incredibly tight, you know, beautifully handled surfaces and light and shadow and, you know, management of color. And it could be a photograph, but it's not. It's just painted. See, you know, old classic suitcase. You know, got a nice feel for the water, you know, breaking and the light coming through behind it. So it just works really, really nicely. This was a fun piece. I thought it was perfect. It was just, you know, it's so now, you know, and it's just like, okay.
It's an interesting I guess, playing off her very, very pale, and he's kind of got sunburn. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, he's got the soccer ball out there. And,
Yeah, like he's gonna be playing soccer.
Mm-hmm. But you know, just again, you know, very fun painting, but really nice use of color, like in the flesh tones, and capturing some sense of the light and shadow and form. You know, just really, really nicely handled. You know, just beautiful little painting. This is stunning. I mean, just absolutely stunning, you know, piece. Yeah. Just lovely use of color, light, shadow, you know, textures, hard and soft. You know, beautifully done. You know, and look at the, if you will, the scumbling in the background. You know, how they worked maybe 3-4 different, you know, layers of color, you know, from this darker gray as a base to a little bit, you know, the bluish, you know, and then, you know, this kind of silver.
Skin tone.
Pardon?
It's like skin tone. It looks like skin tone is the lightest back there in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of this
Puts
silvery kind of color.
Skin tone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulling the skin
But
tone
it's just,
back.
you know, again, you know, just very kind of lightly laid over there, scumbled in. It's really nice stuff. You know? And, you know, it would have been really easy to kind of overwork, you know, this leather jacket
Right.
that she's got on. But look how soft, you know, they kept this. So again, the focal point really just right there. Just this area, just the face and the hand and the hair. And it's like, that's where you go to, you know. But just really, really lovely painting. You know, this is fantastic. This guy is amazing. Yeah. Stan Miller. You know, and this is watercolor. This, you know.
Reminds me a little of Norman Rockwell.
Kind of. Yeah, I guess, you know, in a way. But look at all the color.
Yeah.
You know, in the flesh tones. And how it just sort of goes away. See, you know, he uses that vignette technique a lot. And, you know, you just kind of lose the figure back in the background, and the background just fades right out to white. But really, really lovely use of light and shadow. And that was self-portrait, by the way. This is as well. And again, look at the use of color in here. Greens, reds, oranges, blues. You got everything. You know, everything is in there. And it works. You know, it works really well. Yeah, this was an amazing piece as well. And again, this is watercolor. Okay. You know, you get a sense of, you know, kind of who this guy is. And even like his clothing and, you know, his hair, everything is just, you know, just right. Yeah. Again, this is, you know, not as long and labored, you know, as the previous two pieces. You know, so this is probably painted from life as a study or whatever. Just great use of color and light and shadow. Just beautifully done. Same thing. Not as tight, but again, gives you just enough. I'd be happy with that painting any old day of the week.
Any of these.
Yes, sure.
And the fact that, you know, he's working with watercolor and getting kind of the intensity and the richness, you know, of the color the way that he is. Just beautifully done stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Now here it looks like he probably took a little bit of opaque and worked back over some of these edges. But you don't see that often in his work, you know, where he's gone back in and whited out areas.
Almost gouache-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but he's real good at like keeping the background, the paper clean and pristine. And even
It's the same
like,
lady.
Pardon?
It's another painting of the same lady. And I was just painting the same
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, it may be the same model. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy also.
Yeah, yeah, like, again, same guy that we saw in two other paintings, but
Different.
Yeah, different mood. Yeah. But just really, really lovely handling of, you know, the color and just wonderful stuff. This is kind of where I wish Naomi, you know, was here in the next two I'm going to show. Again, you know, see, real subtle, you know, the shift in temperature. on this one. But then he goes from that to this. Okay? And yet it works, you know? I mean, it works just fine, you know? You know, you kind of wonder, like, did she really have green skin? You know, but, you know, but against that blue and that purple, it really just sets it off just right. Really just nicely.
It's the mood.
Mm-hmm.
Sober, somber.
Yeah, in this one too. You know, much warmer feeling, you know, to the overall painting. But again, you know, it's just right, you know, that light, you know, the value contrast, but also the temperature contrast. Beautifully handled. But again, you know, it's like one of those little studies. It's like, I could be happy with that, you know. I'd walk away and be proud. You know, this, lovely, lovely work.
I love the colors in the face.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Really nice. Really nice.
See, that's what I'm saying. You know, it's like, you know, you got choices out there. You know, you can.
Alan Jackson?
Pardon?
Is that Alan Jackson?
No, this is Stan Miller. Is the artist. Are you saying is this person right here Alan Jackson? I don't know. I don't know who Alan Jackson is.
Oh, you know, that's a country singer.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
Are all of these watercolors still?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
They're all watercolors.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I didn't know you could do that much with watercolor.
I know, really, seriously. You know, I mean, this guy like knocks it out of the park. And then, you know, you go to his landscapes and stuff like this. Same painter.
Wow.
Just incredible stuff. You know, beautifully handled.
Wow.
Yeah, if you could get that
Yeah.
with oil paint, you'd be.
Talent will get you a long way.
Say what?
Talent will get you a long way.
Well, talent will get you somewhere. But actually, you know, a lot of hard work.
Well, that's true.
You know, a lot of hard work, thought, study, you know, and I'll guarantee you, okay, that this guy did not just sit down and knock this out. You know, that he probably did a lot of quick studies and things on location, probably did a lot of photography, did a lot of drawings before he ever went back in the studio to sit down and paint this painting. Okay. And by the time that he got around to painting this, he knew exactly what he was going to do. You know, that there was really almost like nothing left to chance. You know, because it's just too clean, just too accurate, you know, to be, you know, just on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, really capturing, you know, just this great sense of space and mood and atmosphere.
Power.
You know, I've been there. You know, that looks like Friendship, Maine. You know, I mean, I've literally been down on the water, you know, along those piers and docks, you know.
Where's that at?
Well, it reminds me of a place called Friendship, Maine.
In Maine?
But it's probably anywhere along the Maine coast. Yeah.
But not the one with the other buildings.
Pardon?
Not the first one you showed.
No. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Venice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, yeah, he's all over the place. But that's definitely from Maine, probably. You know, I've driven around Maine and seen things just like that when the tide is out. You know, and the boat is, you know, up on the dirt, you know, because, yeah, the tide went out. You know, come back tomorrow morning, the water will be there, and the boat will be floating. So, you know.
Well, look at the sky. That where it's illuminated the lightest part at the top. That's really pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, he handles light and shadow and form, color, you know, pretty much everything. You know, it's
With his layers like that,
I'm
he's got to
sorry.
let it dry. I said to get what he gets, he's got to do a lot of layers and be sure the layers are dry when he goes up on top of it. But
Oh,
that's just
absolutely.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah. No, he really captures a good sense of light, you know, and a sense of the surface, you know, texture, plane, you know, really manages color. Just the color is just absolutely just spot on. Color and value. And this will knock you out. You know, it's a little bit looser, but look, you know, you get this country road, it's kind of sinking back here into the landscape. You know, it's early morning, you know, and you get these
Look at the
clouds.
sky.
We've all seen these things, you know, roll over before. You know, and you know, it's just this little fence post with the flowers growing along it, somebody's yard,
Mhm.
you know, and it makes
Well,
the whole
the
painting.
stars, magnificent.
Pardon?
You know what's so amazing is to see all of this through an artist's eye.
Mm-hmm.
To see what an artist sees and appreciates the simplest things and bring forth beauty. Those people wouldn't pay much attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, how many of you have been down a road like this before?
I have.
Yeah, we've all kind of seen things like that.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. You know, another window. And again, look at the green shade outside.
Mhm.
Evidently, that's a thing
Maybe
in
so.
Italy or France somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so.
No. Venice. Look at the water and just how the water kind of sparkles and dances. Yeah. It feels just, you know, again, you know, you just captured that time of day just right.
Does a great job with watercolor because it almost looks like it's oil.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, he's all watercolor. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
It's
Makes you
all
hate
beautiful.
him. It just makes you hate him. It's just like, damn. You know, is there anything this guy can't do? You know? You know, he does beautiful portraits and people, you know, fantastic landscapes, still lives, you name it. You know, he's got it all.
Seascape.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
He's prolific also.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just beautiful stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we have a few more. We're getting down to the end now. I thought this was absolutely stunning and amazing in itself. Now, this is not Scan. This is Tara Turner. It's called Winter. And it has elements in it that are traditional and elements that are very contemporary and modern, you know? But it's a beautiful piece of artwork, you know? And it's like she captured that cold kind of crystalline feeling, you know, when, you know, it's like really cold outside,
Very
you know, with the trees and the branches and things. And yet it's kind of a landscape painting. It's kind of abstract, you know, kind of goes back and forth.
It has great depth.
Yeah. Yeah, and nice
wouldn't
use of
mind that
color, you
hanging
know,
on my
going
wall.
from like the blues and the violets into this kind of rust, kind of ochre color, and then back into the greens and oranges, and got a little bit of everything in it. Yeah.
I would hang that
Really,
on my
really
wall. I like
beautifully
that.
painted. You know, another really nice. I'm guessing it could be acrylic, could be oil. Now this is in Banff, Canada. I've been there before. I used to have to go there on a regular basis. But yeah, just look at the transition of color in the sky from that purple, you know, into this cooler blue. Just really lovely management of color, light, shadow.
And it feels cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Same painter. No.
That's nice.
Same place, you know, in around that valley area in Banff.
Well, look at the depth he got with the
Mhm.
the sky and the mountain in the background
Right.
against the.
Yeah,
Yet
everything
the-
just sits
the
back there.
mountain has a repetition of color in the front. It's just
Well,
like
it does, but look at the difference. You see,
the value of it. Yeah.
well, not only the value, the intensity of it. See, this is much grayer,
Right.
less intense, even though it's the same color and actually
Yeah.
close to the same value range. But here, the color is so much more intense than back there.
But
It
he
just-
has repeated the color in the background. You know, they tell you to always repeat the color repetition, which he's done beautifully here. Just,
Gene, you're kind of fading.
I said, you're always told to do the repetition of color.
Mhm.
To the left, the color, even though this is more forward than the mountain, it's the repetition of color muted down. That is really that's really nice.
Yeah, you could learn a thing or two from that painting, right?
Oh,
Yeah. Like almost any of these. Yeah, I threw this one in there because it's just fun, you know. But again, you know, interpretation, you know, of a cat.
Yeah.
Very kind of,
That's cute. Yeah.
you know, it's a design. It's very contemporary, yet it's representational, and you get a sense of the cats, you know, there. And the color is really lovely, you know, the play of the warm colors against the cool colors. And, you know, beautifully done. Now, this is a Russian painter, but just stunning, beautiful brushwork and color and management of light and shadow. You know, very loose, very painterly, but it's all there, you know. You see a chair, you see a table, you see vases of flowers. It's all there. Really nice stuff. And then we have this young man. He's like the last. I think he's the last. Well, no, okay. But again, just, you know, incredible attention to detail. And you would think that this is a photograph, but it's a painting. You know?
Sharp and crisp.
Yeah. Well, where he wants it to be, yes. And it's also very soft, you know, and muted where he doesn't want it to be. You know, look in the background back here. You know, that's not just a flat color laid down. You know, it's got a really rich textural surface to it. Okay. The
Makes
same
it look
thing,
like
you
you're
know.
looking out of a window.
Pardon?
I said, it looks like you're looking outside of the window and there's trees back there. The way he's modeled the blue and the.
Yeah,
the
it's let's go back out again. It's a wall, I believe. But
wall? Like a
yeah,
window.
but it's got like some wallpaper or something on it with a pattern. I read it as a wall. I don't know. You know, it can be
looks
a
like
window with
wallpaper.
trees if you want it to be. But then, you know, he's got this frame and this painting, you know, hanging on it,
Right.
you know, of this sort of, I want to say, an angelic figure.
Jeez.
Yeah. But, you know, beautifully done. So, you know, and
Yeah.
this looks very Western, right? You know, even though it's an Asian woman, it feels kind of French, European, Western, right? And then you go from that to this. It's very traditional Japanese, right? You know, the kimono. And look at the subtlety of, you know, the transition of color in the fabric, you know. And, you know, you see kimonos just like this. They've got this really soft, you know, it goes from like one color into another. It's just really, really soft and beautiful. And he's captured that really so well. And then look at the flowers, you know, they're graphic. You know, it's like it's a pattern or something on a screen or something behind her. It's like, you know, he didn't paint it to be like real flowers. He painted it to be kind of like a graphic that feels flat. But he's muted the color back so that she stands forward and all of that sits back in the background. Just really, really nicely. And you even got a little indication of the moon right here. Just real subtly. But let me zoom in. And you look at, you know, the hands, you know, and the fingernails and everything. Very, very meticulous. And just beautifully painted.
It's very soft, her face and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you can hardly see any structure underneath her skin. It's just so soft.
Well, but
and
if
youthful.
Yeah, but if you look at it in just those little subtle transitions,
Right. Yeah.
See, this moves out to the cheekbone, so that feels kind of like a flat plane across there, and then it gets to that cheekbone and it turns and it goes, you know,
Right,
back
yeah.
and down.
Very soft.
Yeah, and then you get to the jawline and how that just rounds right out, you know, into this kind of soft, warm shadow underneath.
The eyes.
It's amazing how you can get that so soft.
Talking about in those other paintings. Look at hers. You can see where. Oh, that's beautifully done.
Yeah. Yep. Beautiful handling and just, you know, the surfaces, textures, everything. And then you go to this, and then go, again, it's an Asian woman in kind of a European setting. You know, and again, you could look at that and go, "Oh, that's a photo," and it's not. You know, it's a painting. Just, and you know, all the, you know, kind of the weave in the sweater, you know, the pattern, the flower pattern on the fabric. You know, you got the scene outside the window, and this is, you know, seriously, that's a window, and then you feel like there's an exterior there. And then, you know, just this beautiful soft light coming in on her. You know, it's almost like a Vermeer. But nicer, actually, than Vermeer. I think if Vermeer painted that, he'd be a very happy boy. Yeah.
You know, Veneer he only did like 36 paintings.
Vermeer, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 36. 2 a year. All he wanted to do was get like 2 a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you could live off of 2 paintings a year then. Yeah.
Well, he died early, and his family had to sell them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You'll see this on Friday, but, you know, again, you know, beautiful, just kind of structural use of the pencil to describe, you know, the direction of the planes and how the planes are moving, you know, on the face. It's really nicely done. And then finally, we're at the end. The last painting. Yay! And this is a guy from China. You know, again, just wonderful sense of light, you know, and where the light is, and use of color just to draw your eye to exactly where I want you to go. And so it's like, okay, she's the focal point, you know, and he just uses this pink purse right in here just to give you this little touch of color, this really kind of warm, almost hot color in comparison to everything else in the background to really just pop that forward. Just really, really lovely. So, again, if I could walk away at the end of the day and have something like that sitting on the easel, I'd be a happy boy. So.
Lower the dress, the top she has on is very nice too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and just the movement, you know, you got the pigeons back there, you know, I mean, it literally is just kind of like a little slice of life, you know, right out of somebody's day. And yet it makes this lovely piece of art, you know, and it's universal. It's like she could be anybody, right? You know, in a city like, you know, Venice or Paris or somewhere like that, you know, walking down the street. So I hate to tell you this, you know, but that's kind of all I've got. Send me some work and we'll talk about it this afternoon. I've got a couple of pieces already, but we can always use a few more. And like I said, you know, the sad part of all of this is a lot of these people are like really young people. You know, there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of talent out there. So, but, you know, don't let that slow you down, okay? Because we got a little talent amongst us too. So, anyway, but now, you know, you got to see some of that stuff and you know what's out there in the world. And, you know, it will probably pop up in a museum or something, you know, here and give it 30 or 40 years, right? Somebody will want to collect it, you know, and the next generation will be looking at it on the wall, you know, going, oh yeah, okay, yeah, he was a big deal, you know, back then. So anyway, maybe they'll even be saying that about one of us one day. So who knows?
I want to thank you, Charles, for I'm sure you put a lot of work into this, and it was really nice to be able to see each one individually and discuss them individually rather than just a video passing by.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, right, Charles. Thank you. I really got a lot out of that.
Yep. Well, you know, it's a learning and a humbling experience all at the same time.
Very humbling.
I looked at that video you sent us to look at called Colored Frames, and they had with the discussion of many of the artists.
Right.
So I didn't get a chance to see a lot of their work on the videos. So I just wrote some of the names down so I can go and later check and see what kind of work they really have put out. So,
Yeah. Well, you know, and you know, those videos, both of those, they were good. You know, I mean, they certainly kind of open up a discussion about, you know, kind of the struggle of artists in general. You know, and during that particular period of time, you know, how tough it was for any sort of artist, you know, who came from any kind of ethnic background, you know, to get their work out there and to get it noticed or seen or shown. You know.
Well, I was amazed that sometimes they said they couldn't even get a gallery. They wanted to put a gallery in a building someplace to rent a space. They couldn't even get a space to rent to show their work of art.
Right.
So, you know, it just broke my heart to know that you have people that have really made an effort to show what people of color can do. And then they can't even display it. Museums won't buy it. And
right.
I know when I was at the Art Museum in Chicago, I did see a couple of pieces by some artists that were Black, but but you know, most of the museums don't have that, and many times you don't even know that an artist is Black because he doesn't. It's probably not figurative drawing, so you wouldn't be able to tell. So, but I think that we really need to do more to show all art, and I'm glad that you have done that for us to broaden our perspective on the people out there that are doing art in the different ethnic groups and different countries, and just young and older people at the same time. So that's wonderful, I think.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree with you.
I know of an artist who was very good, and he would win ribbons and places and art shows, but he would not reveal his ethnicity.
Mhm.
And the minute he decided to do that, he stopped winning shows and all. So
Wow.
it's a true
Wow.
story.
Mhm.
Well, and that there is, even today, there are still barriers out there for all kinds of people. But if you're an artist, and I don't care what ethnicity, what age, what gender you are, you're up against a wall. You just are. You have to work incredibly hard to get your work out there, to get people to notice it. I mean, the biggest part of being a successful artist is, getting your work shown. And, Claudia, you were saying about, how these guys were getting together and they were trying to rent a space, to show art. That problem hasn't gone away. And it's not singularly just because you're of a particular ethnic or, some kind of minority. We had the same kind of deal here in Marietta. There were a group of artists, and, there were a bunch of like storefronts that were sitting empty, right? Well, there were no businesses in there. They hadn't had business in them in 2 or 3 years. And we were trying to talk to, people, at the city level and at the business community level to try to get artwork, and we were going to go in, we were going to set up, easels and put art in the windows, so that as people walk by, they had something to see instead of just empty store spaces. Couldn't get them to do it. Wouldn't do it. I mean, we went back and forth, I think, almost 3 years. And at times it kind of felt like we were pretty close, to finally working out a deal with them, and then they get cold feet and back off. So, I mean, even if you're willing to do all the work, and install the art and take your down, if you're willing to put it out there at your own risk, where they had like no responsibility or anything, in case it gets vandalized or something like that, still can't get them to do it. So it's always a struggle. It's always going to be a struggle as an artist, to get your work out there, and you got to be creative about it. The good news is that, we got this thing called the internet today, and that does make it somewhat easier. Okay. But, by no means, will that make it easy? Okay. It's never going to be easy doing this. So that's just part of it. You got to kind of take it and go, okay, yeah, it is what it is, and keep pushing, keep painting and keep pushing it out there, get it in front of people as much as you can. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Charles?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, this is Linda. I've just been able to get into your class because I didn't have fast enough internet, but I just got it. And my question to you, do you know if Benson is going to open up this summer?
Do I know that? No, I don't. Okay. Have I heard rumors? Yes.
If it does, will you be teaching if it does?
I will, as long as it's before June. But honestly, if okay, and this is just my opinion, I'm not saying that the county is going to do one thing or the other. We don't know. My guess is that, probably sometime in the fall, they're going to be opening.
So you won't be teaching then, right? You're not teaching after June. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, probably not. Unless something changes. Now, what I'm trying to do right now is I've got a meeting with the powers that be at the county And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to maintain this Zoom thing. And
Okay.
because what I would like to do is kind of semi-retire.
Uh-huh.
And then you know, still be working for the county, but doing kind of like online education.
Okay.
Because I like what I'm doing right now. You know, I like the history aspect and researching different artists and being able to present information like we did today to people. But also I like, you know, like traveling and going to museums, you know, places where everybody can't go, and photographing them, documenting them, and then sharing that. But then, you know, along with that, you know, I'd like to be able to come in and do like a workshop, like a 3-4 day long workshop during a week that people could sign up for, and, you know, physically be on site, you know, teaching a painting class, a sculpting class, a design class, you know, things like that. So,
Would that be a
pardon? Yeah. Yeah. At Benson or one of the other facilities, you know, either Darnell, Mills, or Bowden. But again, you know, what the future holds, I don't really know. For me,
Okay.
yeah, you know, my basic plan is, you know, if they went back to a full-time schedule, you know, in person, in classes all week long, I would probably just retire. You know, because that's something that
Oh,
I don't want
okay.
to do. Yeah, I don't want to do really. Well, because, you know, it's like I kind of want to be able to do my own work. I'm finally at the point in my life where it's like I got a lot of things I got to paint, and I'm running out of time. So I kind of want to get to that too.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what's your last name, Linda?
Webb.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because now we have another Linda.
Oil painting class and also in the drawing class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But that was a year ago.
Right. Yeah. Now, you know, and see, here's another one of those situations, you know, even if I'm living in Alabama, right, which is where I bought that house, you know, if we had a Friday drawing class or like a drawing class or like one day of the week, you know, I would drive from Alabama to come teach that class, you know. I mean, I wouldn't want to drive in like 5 days a week, but, you know, doing something like that with like the online. So, you know, I'm kind of open to a lot of different ideas, you know, and a lot of different ways of doing this. But yeah, part of it is kind of wanting to, you know, go do my own thing for a while too. So
you could Zoom from Alabama.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm actually talking to them about, you know, is doing these kind of online educational classes. And, you know, I could, you know, just another wild and crazy idea, you know, while you guys are doing a physical class, you know, part of that class, you know, I could always Zoom in with a demo or, you know, some kind of like, you know, background to what that other instructor is doing, you know, as an addition. So yeah.
But there's not been any class like this at the center, and it would be a great loss to not have this element in addition to on-site.
Right. Well, and see, that's the thing, you know, there hadn't been. But now that we have these, the idea is just because we're going back into the center doesn't mean that these have to go away. See? So it's like, you know, why can you all not be at Benson or Bowden or Darnell or wherever you go and be working with an on-site instructor there, and then still have, you know, part of the class or as an addendum to the class, a Zoom session, right? That you look at impressionistic art or the Fauvist or something like that. Again, to give you some background, some inspiration, you know, some kind of idea to motivate you to try something new, right? So.
Well, one of the things we know before, they're always is concerned about the numbers. They want to increase the numbers. Well, they surely, this is a way to increase the numbers of people that are receiving service.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, it's like, even after they open those centers back up, there are going to be people, and we had this before, where, they start taking a class and then they have to drop out because something happens in life, right? And all of a sudden, they don't have a class. But if we still have this program going on, then they can still connect. They still get art, during the week. It still gives them, something to motivate them to begin to or to keep creating their own art. So there's multiple different ways that we could use this, and there's a lot of different things that we could do with it. And I think it's just a matter of offering it, really, because if it's offered, it's like anything else, you're going to find an audience for it. Okay. And
I hope art history doesn't go away.
Pardon?
This is like a college, art history is almost like a college course where you have to have art appreciation before you finish college. So
Yeah.
this is kind of this art history gives more meaning to what you're doing. It gets you connected to the art world instead of just, it adds to what we've already done.
Well, and see, that's kind of my argument with, and I say argument, it's sort of my view, I guess, that if you're a working artist or if you're wanting to be an artist, okay, let's say that you're a novelist and you're just beginning to paint. If you don't have some kind of background as to the history of art and the techniques and the different art movements and the possibilities of different ways that you could approach painting, then, you've got a very, very narrow scope there, right? And the idea is, as an artist, you want to open that up as wide as you can. See? You want to start off as broad as you can and know as much as you can about a little bit of everything so you can begin to let that sink into you. Because, those influences, you take them on, whether consciously or unconsciously, and before you know it, you find it coming out there at the end of your brush or your pencil in ways that you would never imagine, because you filtered it, you've made it your own, see? And that's the value of understanding the history of art and looking, as an artist, you're like a sponge. You got to be out there, you got to look at as much stuff as you can, and you have to be selective. You got to evaluate for yourself. Do I like that? What is it that I like about it? What do I want to steal from that, and make my own, right? What is this person doing that, I would like to do and do it better or in my own way. See? And, that's, you can learn so much from that, and you can see your work improve drastically, by just building up your base of knowledge. So, yeah, because if you don't know, you're not going to think about it. You're not going to do it. So, anyway. Anybody got any other questions?
Charles, I couldn't join today afternoon class. Is it the same password or not?
Yes. Yeah. Well, there is no password. Yeah, there is no password on any of these classes.
Okay. But I couldn't join because they told me you have to be, the teacher accept you, but you didn't accept me.
I've never heard that before, but
what link are you using? Because
yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
how did you get in?
Yeah, Azam, I'll tell you what. When I get off here during lunch, I'll send you a new email with the links.
Thank you.
Okay. And so if you're around this afternoon, try to join the
Yeah.
class. See if you can get in, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
And if not, if you can't get in, then send me an email going, I can't get in. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Or wait a
Okay,
minute.
thank you.
Do you have my phone number?
No, I don't have.
You don't. Okay. Well, send me a text. Okay. Send me a
Okay.
text. All right. And it's 678. Yeah. Write that down.
678
360
360
7133.
7133. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. If you
Okay.
can't get in, or if you're having trouble, and that really goes for any of you. Okay. If
Yeah.
you're having problems or something like that, send me a text, and let me know. Okay.
Okay.
And then
Thank you.
I don't know what I can do about it right at that minute, but I'll try to figure something out. Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you so
Anyway,
much. Thank you.
I'll send you a new set of links. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, well, bye, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Okay. You take care. I will see you around about 2 o'clock. Send me some work. Okay. And we'll take a look and see
Okay.
what you guys did.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Happy Monday, everybody.
Thank you.